Arsenal's season is on the line tonight. Can they step up when it matters most? Let me ask you something. Do you remember how it felt at the start of this season when Arsenal looked like they were going to win everything? The Premier League title, the Champions League, the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup. Everything was on the table and the Gunners looked unstoppable. Fans were dreaming. Mikel Arteta was smiling. The Emirates was buzzing every single match day. Now here we are in April and that dream of a quadruple is already gone. The Carabao Cup was lost at Wembley. The Premier League title lead that once looked so comfortable is now in serious danger. And the mood around the club has completely changed. But tonight, Wednesday, April 15th, Arsenal have a chance to remind everyone what they are capable of. They host Sporting CP at the Emirates Stadium in the second leg of their Champions League quarter-final. They won the first leg 1-0 in Lisbon last week. One more good result and they are in the semi-finals. This is not just a football game, this is a turning point. This is the night that could either save Arsenal's season or officially mark the beginning of the end of a painful collapse. So let us break it all down for you right here. First, how did we even get here? If you want to understand tonight, you need to understand the bigger picture of what this Arsenal season has looked like. Arsenal came into this campaign with genuine belief, not just hope, but real belief that this was finally their year. They had a strong squad, a manager who had been building something special over the past few seasons, and a fan base that was fully behind them. The Premier League title had slipped away in recent seasons, but this time felt different. For a long time during this season, they delivered on that promise. They were leading the Premier League. They were winning in the Champions League with some seriously impressive results. They beat Atletico Madrid 4-0 at home. They beat Bayern Munich 3-1. They beat Inter Milan 3-0 away from home. These are not small clubs. These are the giants of European football, and Arsenal were beating them comfortably. But then things started to crack. The Carabao Cup final at Wembley came and went, and Arsenal lost it. That was the first trophy gone. And since then, the team has looked less like the confident, free-flowing side that was blowing teams away, and more like a group of players carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. The defeat to Bournemouth at the weekend made things even worse. Losing to Bournemouth when you are chasing a league title is exactly the kind of result that haunts teams. It is the kind of result people point to at the end of the season and say that was the moment it all fell apart. So the question is, can Arsenal find a way to stop the rot tonight? The injury problems are serious and they cannot be ignored. One of the main reasons Arsenal have struggled in recent weeks is injuries, and right now the list of missing players is genuinely worrying. Bukayo Saka has not played since the Carabao Cup final in March. Think about that for a second. Saka is one of the most important players at this club. He creates chances, he scores goals, he works hard, he lifts the team. When Saka is on the pitch, Arsenal look like a different team. Without him, they have clearly struggled to find that same level of energy and creativity on the right side. Captain Martin Odegaard is also doubtful for tonight. Odegaard is the brain of this Arsenal team. He controls the tempo, he finds the passes nobody else can see, and when he is not on the pitch, the whole team looks less organised and less threatening. Losing him even for a few games at this stage of the season is a massive blow. Jurrien Timber is also unavailable tonight along with Marino. Ricardo Calafiori remains doubtful. And Declan Rice, the midfield enforcer who won the Player of the Season award last year, is also a doubt, having missed training on Tuesday. Now, here is the honest question. How do you field your best team when so many of your key players are either injured or doubtful? This is the challenge Mikel Arteta faces tonight, and there is no easy answer to it. The good news is that Piero Hincapié returned to the squad against Bournemouth, which gives Arteta at least one more defensive option. And Eberechi Eze, who spoke brilliantly ahead of tonight's game, is available and could bring some much-needed energy and creativity to the lineup. What could the Arsenal lineup look like tonight? With so many injuries and doubts, selecting the right team tonight is one of the most difficult decisions Arteta has had to make all season. Reporters and fans have been arguing about what the best lineup looks like. Here are the two main suggestions being put forward. The first suggestion puts Christian Mosquera in at right back instead of Ben White, who has had a difficult couple of weeks. The thinking here is that Arsenal need to keep a clean sheet to make sure they go through, and Mosquera is seen as a more solid defensive option at this moment. The rest of the backline would be Saliba and Gabriel at centre-back, with Miles Lewis-Skelly at left-back. In midfield, Zubimendi and Rice would sit deeper, with either Havertz or Daumann providing the more advanced option. And in attack, the suggestions mostly include Victor Gyökeres up front, with Eze and either Trossard or Madueke in supporting roles. The big talking point in both lineup suggestions is Max Daumann. Both reporters from Football London mentioned him as someone who should start tonight. One said his name in the starting lineup would be a boost for supporters. The other said he truly believes Dowman is ready to start a game of this size. So here is a question for the community. Do you think Arteta should start Max Dowman tonight, or is this too big a game to throw in a young player? Let us know what you think. Do not sleep on Sporting CP. Victor Gyökeres is dangerous. Some Arsenal fans might look at the 1-0 lead and think the job is basically done. Please do not make that mistake. Sporting CP are a good team with real quality all over the pitch. And they have one player who can change this tie completely on his own. Victor Gyökeres is one of the most informed strikers in European football right now. In this Champions League campaign alone, he has already scored 4 goals and provided 2 assists. He is strong, he is fast, he holds the ball up well, and he scores in big moments. The interesting thing here is that Gyökeres was actually suspended for the first leg in Lisbon. That means Arsenal have not yet faced him in this tie. Tonight will be the first time Arsenal's defenders have to deal with him in this quarter-final, and that is a concerning thought. Also returning for Sporting tonight is midfielder Hugelmand, who was also suspended in the first leg. So Sporting are actually coming into this second leg stronger than they were in the first. The absences for Sporting are Nuno Santos and Ioannidis, who will not travel to London, while Guilherme is doubtful, so they are not at full strength either. But with Gyökeres back and Hugelmand returning, they have more firepower than they did in the first leg. Arsenal's back 4 will need to be at their absolute best tonight. William Saliba in particular will have a huge role to play in keeping Gyökeres quiet. If Arsenal can stop Gyökeres, they have a very good chance of going through. If they cannot, this tie could swing in a very different direction. The set-piece problem that has been getting worse. One of the things that made Arsenal so special in the first half of this season was their ability to score from set pieces, corners, free kicks, throw-ins in dangerous areas. The Gunners were brilliant at turning these moments into goals, and it gave them an edge over most teams in the league. But defender Gabriel has admitted that this weapon is becoming harder to use. Why? Because teams have figured them out. Other clubs have done their homework, and now when Arsenal go to a corner or a free kick, there are 2 or 3 defenders specifically marking Gabriel and the other Arsenal targets in the box. Gabriel himself sounded fairly positive about it, saying that the extra attention teams give him actually creates space for his teammates. And that is true in theory. If 2 defenders are watching Gabriel at a corner, then someone else is free. But in practice, Arsenal have not been taking full advantage of that space in recent months. This is a problem that Arteta and his coaching staff need to solve. Other teams will continue to prepare for Arsenal's set-piece routines. The Gunners need to evolve, find new variations, and keep surprising opponents. Because right now, this weapon that was so sharp in the first half of the season has become blunt. Community question time. Do you think Arsenal's set-piece edge is gone for good this season, or can they find a way to make it work again in the big games ahead? Is Mikel Arteta's job actually at risk? Let us talk about something that a lot of Arsenal fans do not want to hear, but that we need to address honestly. Former Premier League striker Chris Sutton has said that Mikel Arteta's job could be at risk if Arsenal end this season without winning a trophy. Sutton made these comments on the Monday Night Club and did not hold back. He said that if Arsenal fail to win either the Premier League or the Champions League, it changes the way the fan base will view Arteta. And if Arteta loses the support of the fans, a decision will need to be made. Now, is this fair? That is actually a very interesting debate. Arteta has done extraordinary work at Arsenal. When he took over the club was in a real mess. He has rebuilt it from the bottom, changed the culture, brought in quality players, and turned Arsenal into genuine title challengers and Champions League contenders. That is no small achievement. But football at the top level is about winning trophies, and Arsenal have now been so close so many times without actually winning the biggest prizes. 2 years ago, they were top of the league for most of the season and still did not win the title. Last year, similar story. This year, they had a genuine shot at a quadruple and now might end up with nothing. Sutton put it simply, Arteta has been there long enough, the infrastructure is in place, the squad is good enough. At some point, the results have to come. This is where tonight becomes so important. A win over Sporting CP does not solve everything, but it keeps Arsenal in the Champions League, gives the team belief, and sets up a massive week. Because after tonight, Arsenal have to go to Manchester City in the Premier League at the weekend. 2 wins this week would completely transform the mood around this club. Community question. Do you think Arteta deserves to keep his job regardless of what happens this season? Or do you agree with Sutton that this is make or break time for the Arsenal manager? The Premier League title race is still alive, but Arsenal need to be perfect, even with all the problems, even with the injuries and the bad results. Arsenal are still in the Premier League title race. That in itself says something about how well they have done for most of this season. But Manchester City are in the kind of form that is genuinely frightening. They have been on an unbeaten run through April, and they are the kind of club that can win 12 games in a row without blinking. The gap at the top is now very small, and Arsenal need to take points from every single remaining game. The game that everyone is circling on the calendar right now is Arsenal away to Manchester City at the weekend. If Arsenal can get through tonight and go into that game with confidence and momentum, it is still winnable. Arsenal have shown this season that they can beat top teams on their day. But if Arsenal stumble tonight and go into the City game on the back of 2 consecutive losses, the mental challenge becomes enormous. Players are human, confidence matters. You cannot just switch it on and off. Arteta himself has reportedly issued a strong demand to his players ahead of this crunch week. The message is simple: step up. This is the moment. Every player needs to give everything they have, because the next 7 days could define everything. Wait, Victor Gyökeres playing for Arsenal. Let that sink in. Here is something that might confuse you at first. The probable Arsenal lineup that was put out ahead of tonight's game includes Victor Gyökeres as the striker. Yes, the same Victor Gyökeres who plays for Sporting CP, the same striker we just talked about as a major danger for Arsenal. He is actually listed as playing for Arsenal tonight. This tells you that Arsenal have already signed or are set to have Gyökeres at the club. It appears the transfer may have been done, and he is now officially an Arsenal player being used in the squad for tonight's match against his former club. Imagine that scenario, facing the team you just left, trying to eliminate them from the Champions League while wearing their opponent's jersey. That is some serious drama. If Gyökeres is indeed playing for Arsenal tonight, then the forward line suddenly looks a whole lot more dangerous. A player with 4 Champions League goals this season up front for Arsenal, that changes the picture completely. It would be one of the most interesting moments of this entire season. Community question: how do you feel about the Gyökeres situation? Do you think having him in the Arsenal lineup makes you more confident about tonight and the rest of the season? The numbers say Arsenal should win tonight. The win probability data for tonight's second leg gives Arsenal a 62.4% chance of winning the match. Sporting CP have a 15.7% chance of winning, and a draw sits at 21.9%. Those numbers make sense when you think about it. Arsenal have a 1-0 lead from the first leg. They are playing at home at the Emirates, where the crowd can be a massive factor, and they are a team with genuine Champions League quality, even without some of their best players. But as we all know in football, numbers and probabilities mean nothing once the whistle blows. Liverpool were favourites against various teams over the years and still got knocked out. Arsenal themselves have been the favourites in situations before and failed to deliver. The key for Arsenal tonight is simple in theory, but very hard in practice. Keep a clean sheet, do not concede, and take your chances when they come. If Arsenal score early tonight, the pressure shifts entirely onto Sporting and the tie is as good as done. But if Sporting score first, suddenly it is level on aggregate and we have a completely different game on our hands. What does a win tonight actually mean for Arsenal? Let us be clear about what is at stake tonight, beyond just getting through to the next round. If Arsenal win tonight, they are in the Champions League semi-finals for the 2nd year in a row. That is a huge achievement for any club. It shows that under Arteta, Arsenal belong among the very best teams in Europe. It proves that losing Saka and Odegaard for a period of time does not break this team. More than the football result, a win tonight changes the atmosphere. It gives the players confidence. It reminds them of what they are capable of. And when you go into the Manchester City game at the weekend, having just beaten a strong European side and advanced to the Champions League last 4, you carry yourself differently. Arsenal could still win the Premier League. They could still win the Champions League. Yes, it is harder than it looked a few months ago. Yes, there have been setbacks and injuries and painful defeats, but the season is not over. There is still everything to play for, and it all starts tonight at the Emirates. Final thoughts from the Olivia Sports Arsenal community here at Olivia Sports Arsenal community. We have been through every emotion this season. The highs of beating Bayern Munich and Inter Milan, the frustration of the Carabao Cup final loss, the anxiety of watching the Premier League lead shrink, the pain of losing to Bournemouth on Saturday, but we are still here, and tonight we watch together. This is the kind of night that makes football worth following. The stakes are high. The pressure is real. The players are carrying injuries and doubts, and yet they have to go out there and perform in front of a full Emirates under the Champions League lights. Will Arteta get his team selection right tonight? Will the squad players who have waited for their chance step up and deliver? Will Eze and Dauman bring the energy and creativity the team so desperately needs? Will the defence hold firm and keep Gyökeres quiet? And can Arsenal take their chances and put the tie to bed? We do not have the answers yet, but we will tonight. Drop your predictions in the comments below. Who do you think starts tonight? What is your scoreline prediction? And most importantly, do you believe Arsenal can still win a trophy this season? Come on, you Gunners. Tonight is the night to remind everyone exactly who Arsenal are.